Today I'm reacting to your WrestleMania Night 2 hot takes. This is a video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts about the current world of professional wrestling. This particular episode is going to focus on your thoughts about WrestleMania 40 Night 2. I asked for your hot takes immediately after the show ended, and over 3,000 of you sent in your hot takes. After this episode, we'll get back to our regularly scheduled weekly weekend hot takes, so if you want to be part of that next video, make sure that you're following me on X. I ask for your hot takes there every single Friday. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's get to it. Actually, before we do, I wanted to let you know that there's 2 hours of extra content right now uploaded today over on Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. You're gonna get the 35-minute Raw after WrestleMania review. The podcast, an hour and a half, is already up there, and it's up there 3 days earlier than everywhere else in the world, but you're also gonna get the upcoming Friday Night SmackDown review and more. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. The link will be the very top link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. Go check it out. I'd really appreciate it if you just saw what I was offering. Okay, now let's actually start. I'm so happy Priest's cash-in did not fail. The slow burn plus CM Punk's rub was worth the long wait. Look, if Damian Priest's cash-in had failed, it would have completely ruined the sanctity of the Money in the Bank briefcase. Back-to-back failed cash-ins would have been just such a bad look for the overall concept and gimmick of the Money in the Bank. So I'm with you. I'm glad that his cash-in was successful. I'm not sure that I'm on board with the slow burn of how things went. I know Triple H mocked people online for making fun of Damian Priest for being a bad Mr. Money in the Bank, for being a buffoon, for being dumb with the briefcase, but I still feel like those are fair criticisms. Like, dude, Triple H, you were the one that booked that. If we were feeling that way, it's because that's what you portrayed him to be on screen. So I'm glad that they were able to salvage everything and to do it in such a majestic way, involving so many main eventers like Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. All of the people that were involved really helped elevate this cash-in. Of course, where it happened, it helped elevate this cash-in, and how we got to it helped elevate this cash-in. So all in all, I'm really happy with how they executed it. People will boo Cody Rhodes 6 months into his title reign, says the guy with the tribal chief Roman Reigns as his biopic. Don't think I didn't notice that. Look, I actually don't think so. I do believe that in previous lifetimes that we were the kind of fan base to turn on the babyface. However, in the amount of time that I've watched wrestling, I haven't seen a very clear top of the card face of the company babyface that was this universally beloved. There's usually always a split, or they're more disliked than actually liked. This is a rare instance where the face of the company is actually liked by the majority of fans watching the WWE. So I don't foresee this being the case, but who knows? Like, literally, like, wrestling fans can be so up and down with what they like and what they dislike that maybe you're right, but I don't see that being the case. WrestleMania 40 is a top 3 WrestleMania along with 39. So I'm gonna tackle the 2 things that you said here. Do I think it's a top 3 WrestleMania of all time? I'm gonna dive into the deep end a bit deeper than you. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's the greatest WrestleMania of all time. There might be some recency bias. However, I've watched a lot of WrestleManias, and in all of those WrestleManias that I've watched, I have either walked away being like, that was pretty good, or that was pretty bad, or that was underwhelming. In none of the previous WrestleManias before 40 did I properly walk away saying that was the greatest wrestling show that I've ever seen in the history of wrestling. And I feel like that's how I walked away when you consider Night 1 and Night 2 and you put them together. I really feel like WrestleMania 40 was the greatest professional wrestling show of all time. We'll see how I feel in a month, because again, I might still be riding the highs from the fumes of how electric that night in Night 1 and Night 2 were, but I feel pretty good about saying that. And then you also said, you know, it's up there with WrestleMania 39. I'm pointing this out because we're kind of on a pretty decent streak of not horrible WrestleManias. 37 was pretty decent, 38 was pretty good, 39 was a banger, and 40 was a GOAT contender for a lot of people. Now, turn that up on its head and look at like the nasty stretch that we went from 32, 33, 34, where we were getting some of the worst WrestleManias of all time. I'm glad that like the tides have turned towards giving us like some good stuff. Am I the only one that was convinced that Dean Ambrose was coming out when the Shield song hit, legit did a spit take and stood up from my seat in shock. I didn't believe it, but also there was so many crazy things happening in that very moment that there was like 5% of me that was like, holy shit, did they get Jon Moxley on like a one show appearance, you know, like a one-off deal to be able to make this like an even bigger moment? Because I didn't rule it out of the equation, because Jon Moxley being there would have been in line with all the other craziness that was happening. So I don't think you were the only one. I was still more skeptical than a believer, but there was part of me that was like, holy shit, is this actually happening? I expected more from the Pride versus the Final Testament. Really? You expected more. The WrestleMania match that we all expected to be garbage, you expected more from that? That's on you. That's like entirely your fault, my friend, because I expected nothing from this match. In fact, I expected so little, and I believe that the WWE understood that there was no expectation of this to be good, that the WWE did everything in their power to make sure that this didn't completely drown, because they knew this wasn't WrestleMania worthy. So they gave it a nice stipulation in the street fight. They gave them an amazing commentator in Snoop Dogg, and they gave them the nostalgia pop of Bubba Ray Dudley. So WWE did everything in their power to make sure that this didn't flop. And if anything, to me, it exceeded expectations, because my expectations were down in the basement because of how not WrestleMania-like this feud felt. I think I have stage 6 depression. I don't know how I can get help. It feels like I already had depression for 60 years. It feels like I've been through 16 wars. My tribal chief is gone. We're just a tribe without a chief. God damn, you're dramatic. No, I like the sentiment of like you being sad for the tribal chief. You're sad that the reign is over, but I'm gonna try and uplift you by saying, don't be sad that it's over. Be happy and joyous that it happened, because what we got to witness with Roman Reigns over the last 3 years was nothing short of, I hate using the moniker ever since WrestleMania 28. It was once in a lifetime. I don't see us ever getting a dominant run, as good a run, as entertaining a run as Roman Reigns as the top champion in the company. Sancho said it in one of the podcasts, patreon.com/SantiZap, that he believes that Roman Reigns saved wrestling because he was the one that forced a pivot and change in terms of how stories were told during the pandemic. And I believe that the WWE piggybacked on Roman Reigns' ability to tell a story in front of no one and really expanded it to be able to tell massive, incredible, giant narratives that span a long time. And I think that was done off the back of Roman Reigns. So again, don't be sad that it's over, just be happy that it happened. Cody must have championship defenses against top contenders instead of low-card superstars. If WWE gives too many people a chance at Cody, people may turn on Cody or feel like the title has lost prestige. See, this is, you know what this is? This is called Stockholm Syndrome of being used to only seeing the WWE Championship once every 6 months because Roman Reigns would seldomly defend the championship. So I get it, I understand where you're coming from. However, the point of now finally having the championship on every Monday Night Raw, potentially every Friday Night SmackDown, is that now we have a champion that is there, a champion that can elevate the prestige, not from withholding it from ever appearing, but by raising the prestige through it being a workhorse title like Seth Rollins did with the World Heavyweight Championship. And because it's now on weekly television, we can give more opportunities to those guys that traditionally would have never gotten an opportunity at Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns' appearances were so few and far between. We can give a Bronson Reed a one-off match at Monday Night Raw, and it can help elevate Bronson Reed, not necessarily reduce the prestige of the championship. This is what champions are supposed to do. They're supposed to not just elevate the title, but elevate the entire division around them. And that's where Roman, in my opinion, wasn't able to provide that in the latter half of his championship reign because he wasn't around to help elevate the people that needed help elevating. He really was having feuds with the people that were already at the top of the card. Stone Cold should have been in Undertaker's spot. I mean, like, we're really just splitting hairs at this point. We are nitpicking. I feel like Undertaker had a good enough reason to be there. Frankly, just as good a reason as Stone Cold would have had to be there. If anything, I like the Undertaker showing up instead of Stone Cold because I was expecting Stone Cold. And so when the gong went off, I lost my absolute mind because I was not expecting the Undertaker. You know what would have been the best case scenario? Both of them. You know what? That would have been too much. I feel like we would have all died if that happened. Roman versus Cody was one of the greatest matches of all time in terms of booking. I'm gonna stop you there because I don't think that the match was good purely because of the booking, like all of the crazy stuff that happened afterwards. This was a tale of two stories. There was the back half with all of the crazy returns, the shocks, the ending, just the most emotionally heart-wrenching stuff that happened in the last 7 minutes of that match. But in everything before, the first 20 minutes of Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, it was, in my opinion, already a 5-star match. It was already better than their match at WrestleMania 39. It was an incredibly exciting match, but you couple the great match with the crazy, insane ending, and you give yourself potentially the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time. Night 2 blew Night 1 out of the water. Isn't that nice, considering we all went into Night 2 thinking it was going to be so much worse than Night 1? So kudos to the WWE for turning our expectations upside down and delivering on what we thought they couldn't deliver on. The Uso match should have meant more. I agree, this was a feud that transcended the ring ropes. This was a feud that went beyond the ring. This was a family affair. This was more than just about glory. It was literally about blood. I felt like this needed more storytelling, maybe even a stipulation, just something to force these guys to do more than just super kicks. Frankly, the fight that they had on the ramp with the spear onto the table, that was better than their entire matchup at Night 1. Hearing Michael Cole say, "I love professional wrestling," broke me and really told me more than any other announcement. We are in a new era and I am excited to see what comes next. Look, it was always professional wrestling, but Michael Cole calling it professional wrestling in a moment where the entirety of the WWE fan base, the entirety of professional wrestling fans, more than just wrestling fans, because WrestleMania brings more than just the casual, like the regular viewers. It brings a more casual audience, people that have never watched wrestling before. Him calling it professional wrestling, you're right, means a lot, because this is the WWE, in my opinion, at least this is my interpretation, saying that they're not ashamed of who they are anymore. They're not trying to mask this idea that they're professional wrestling by calling it something else, by making you believe that this is sports entertainment. They know what they are and they're unashamed and unapologetic about it, because it seemed like Vince McMahon was ashamed of the term professional wrestling, but that's all it was always. You put a dog in a hat, it's still a dog. AJ Styles' new theme is bad. I mean, I don't know, I think it's fine, but I guess the jury's still out on that. I guess we'll hear it more, but I think it's cool that he debuted a new theme, because to me at least, it signals that he's here more for the long haul, and he's here to really reinvent and change his character enough that he felt like a repackaging of how he goes into the ring needed to change. So I'm excited for what this means for AJ Styles, really. But I guess it's up to your taste in music. I don't know. That was the greatest moment in wrestling history. Wow. Went through all the emotions from shocked, surprise, laughing, and crying. A new era begins. I think that this is going to be one of those WrestleMania moments that is replayed over and over and over again. I think it's going to be alongside Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant. I think it's to that level. It wasn't just a great WrestleMania. It wasn't just a great match. Like you're saying here, it was one of the greatest moments in history. And the thing that lives on in the history books of WrestleMania, it's not actually matches, it's WrestleMania moments. It's the moments that get replayed. It's the moments that get talked about. It's not the match, it's the moment. And this created, in a really good match, a moment that I think is going to stand the test of time until the end of the WWE's existence. The Undertaker was better than Stone Cold would have been, because none of us expected that gong to hit. That's funny, you sent this in, because I actually agree with you. I just said this. It was the shock factor of the gong that completely caught us off guard. It was the fact that we had The Rock and Taker across from one another at WrestleMania, something that at WrestleMania we've never seen. Yes, we've seen The Rock and Stone Cold, but that was a moment that we had never seen. I loved it. I don't have a hot take, but can you use this post to call anyone who thinks that Cody versus Roman was overbooked stupid? Thank you. Well, actually, by definition, it was overbooked, but that's okay. Like, that's what they were going for, and it worked. I do believe that there is a negative connotation with the word overbooked, but in this scenario, this was a scenario that they had built up where the overbooking felt earned. It didn't feel like it was overbooked for the sake of being overbooked. It didn't even feel overbooked for the sake of just giving us fan service. It felt like every note that was hit in the overbooked nature of this felt like we deserved it. It felt like it was earned. Like the 3 years plus of this storyline allowed for all of these ridiculous things to come together and make sense. But I will say, if you think that it was bad because of the overbooking, then yeah, you're stupid. MJF is gonna show up tomorrow. Come on. Well, Raw after WrestleMania has already happened, and I've already reviewed it over on Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. So I guess all I have to say to this is Bayley and Io told the best traditional wrestling story of all of WrestleMania 40. Yes, and I believe firmly that they put together a classic WrestleMania match. However, because of everything that happened in this WrestleMania, it's gonna be one of those quiet cult classic matches that we're gonna learn to appreciate more as time goes by, because right now it's just being so overshadowed by all of the crazy shit that happened. But when enough time passes, I think that we're all gonna realize that those two ladies put on a fucking classic. Since splitting WrestleMania over 2 nights, tonight was the best night comfortably. I just love that they've split WrestleMania into 2 nights. Dude, imagine sitting through both nights of WrestleMania night 1 and night 2, like WrestleMania 40, I should say. That would have just been too much. It would have actually killed the ending because we just would have been too exhausted. I like that the show ended at 11 p.m. I like the fact that I was not having to go to bed so that I had to wake up to commute to work 5 hours later, and because I stayed up so late to watch Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. But yes, this is the best 2-night WrestleMania, but I'm gonna stay firm and say that this is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. All right, folks, those are the hot takes. Thank you for being part of WrestleMania season with us. I cannot wait to spend the rest of the year with you until we get to WrestleMania 41. Thank you very much for everything. Take care. Get out of here.